is Not the Girl Next Door show, and I have Ian from Sleep for the Weary with us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I wanted to get you guys on the show. You guys have a new video out, so could you tell us a little bit about the band?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's four of us. There's myself. I sing and play rhythm guitar. We've also got John Hurst, who plays lead guitar. Eric Woodrow, who plays bass for us, and Rob Edmondson. He plays drums for us.
Now, how did you guys all meet?
A lot of different ways. John and I, we met in college. We went to Ball State in Indiana and both studied philosophy together. And through a lot of different ways, we connected musically, but we kind of went our separate ways and meant to reconnect. And then we finally did reconnect and realized we both had a common desire to play in a band, and so we just kind of extended the invitation, and that's how John and I kind of came to being in the band together. But Eric was actually the first one to come aboard. Sleep for the Weary started as just a project in my bedroom once I moved away from Indiana to Nashville, Tennessee. I was just kind of writing songs and didn't know what to do with them and what to do with myself, and Eric seemed to really dig what I was doing, and he and I started collaborating, and so he joined and started playing bass, and then John came aboard, and then we needed a drummer, and there used to be 5 of us in the band. We used to have another guitar player, and I just sang. I didn't play guitar before, and his name was Rodrigo Sebastian. He and myself and Eric, we all worked at Guitar Center together, and they both knew Rob and had introduced me to Rob, and from there on out, it was just kind of history. But eventually, Rodrigo went on to do his own thing, and we became a 4-piece, and I picked back up the guitar, and the rest is history.
So for the people who have never heard you guys before, how would you explain what kind of sound you guys have? Like, I don't want to, make you put yourself in, a subgenre, because I've had this conversation before with bands. They're like, no, we're just, whatever, we're rock. But how would you describe, How do you describe your band to people, the sound?
Right, and I get how nobody really wants to put themselves in a corner or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we... I would say it's a darker, melodic, heavy hard rock. Some people might describe it as alternative metal. Some people think it's just metal. Some people think it's just rock. But there's a lot of different things that kind of make it what it is. We all kind of have a collective grunge influence. We all listen to heavier music. Some of us listen to more extreme metal. Some of us kind of listen somewhere in the middle there, but it's a darker, melodic hard rock, I guess, to put it in simplest terms.
Now, who are some of your musical influences as a band?
Oh, man. As far as ones that we all agree on, because there's way more that we disagree on than the ones we agree on. But Allison Chains is one for sure. And I think either give or take one Maynard James Keenan project or another, we all seem to enjoy either Tool, A Perfect Circle, or Pussifer, one of the other more than the others. But we're really big Tool fans, a lot of us. Some of us really listen to Gojira a lot, different heavy stuff. Some of us, like Eric, he listens to a lot of hip-hop, listens to some Tech 9 and 311 and things. Rob likes to listen to some funkier things, some more audiophile stuff. Rob's got a really diverse taste in music that he listens to. John's really into Pearl Jam and some more 90s grunge stuff. But we all kind of borrow from different things. I grew up listening to a lot of nu metal and Korn and of course, Metallica and Nirvana. If you grew up in the 90s and listened to rock, there's no way to avoid them.
Definitely.
But yeah, for sure, I'd say Allison Chains and Tool are some of our biggest influences collectively. And Chevelle. How could I forget Chevelle? Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of us too. Chevelle, Thrice.
Now, how did you guys come up with the name of the band, Sleep for the Weary?
Well, back when it was just me writing songs in a bedroom, I had kind of felt like a lot of the songs I was writing were ways of me either through some form of catharsis or what it might be, just to help me deal with negative thoughts, negative ideas or feelings, and trying to get those out rather than dwell on them. And depression and those sort of things have a way of weighing down on you and making you tired all the time because you're just exhausted from dealing with them and carrying them around with you all the time. And so the idea behind the name of it was just finally finding some sort of peace or rest in this turmoil that you're going through. And so that's where Sleep for the Weary comes from, is just giving rest to a very troubled mind.
So you talked a little bit about, you were writing the songs. Are you the only writer in the band? How does the musical process work? Do you guys write collectively, or how does the collaboration work? Does one person write the guitar parts? You guys write their own parts? Tell us a little bit about creating songs with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody definitely has a hand in their own parts. We try to bring everyone's style in to where it's not just one person's thing. Being that it started from stuff that I was just doing, it was very much that I was bringing a lot of the, if not in the early days, it was just here's these songs, let's learn to play them so that we can go do some live shows. And once we do that, then we can kind of expand and explore from there. And so through like our Nocturne CD, that was really what was going on there, was a lot of songs that I had just written, and we had brought in the other guys, and that's when we really started to become a band, was performing that album live. But once that was done, we started being much more of a traditional band in the sense that I might bring the skeleton of a song, but everyone else starts bringing the parts and the muscles and the ligaments and the skin and everything for it. So everybody brings their own vibe to it, and a lot of times somebody will have an idea that's so good that it can kind of breathe new life into the song and allow it to change direction or travel ways that it might not have if it was just me on my own. So the other guys have had a huge hand in that. Rob Edmondson, the drummer, he has a bit of a Meshuggah influence in him, and there's times where the song will just kind of completely flip inside out with some of the weird emphasis on the beat that he'll put and some of the time signature changes that he can throw in there. So everybody's got a little different element that they add to it, and I think going forward it'll probably even go farther in that direction. But for the most part, I'll bring a pretty general concept of the song and maybe some structure and the lyrics and vocals and stuff like that, of course. But as far as the song really becoming what it is, it's very much a group effort.
So let's talk about the newest release, the newest video, Jonestown Bop. Could you tell us a little bit about the song? And I just want to say, I know I told you guys on Facebook when I spoke with you guys when it was released, it was a really cool video. I like the old-timey theme cartoon. I just absolutely love it. I'm a big video person. I love music videos. You can like a song, but then sometimes when you see the video, it kind of puts it over the edge where you're like, holy cow, this is really cool, you know. But
right.
If you could talk a little bit about the video and, you know, what the song's about.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're really glad that you enjoyed it. Visually, like, we're all pretty introverted individuals, and it's difficult for us to want to just do the rock star thing and all be doing glamour shots in a music video of all of us rocking out. And so lyric videos, even though they often aren't as creative as a full-on music video or some of the more experimental projects, like when you watch a Tool music video that you don't see any of the members, but it's this really creative thing, it's cool for us to be able to explore those things visually. And we're all kind of nerds in a way, one way or another. So when it comes to like old school stuff like that old kind of 1930s Disney vibe that it has, that was the big reward for that is how it contrasts against the song and the subject matter. It seems like this very cheerful sort of thing, but it's doing weird, creepy things when you're watching it, and the song is a pretty dark song. But the song itself and musically is very much about learning to think for yourself and learning to learn from tragedies in history, particularly with some cults that have kind of led to be mass suicides like the Jonestown Massacre and the Heaven's Gate cult. Both of those, growing up, I had a pretty big impact on me with those, like specifically the Heaven's Gate one was one that I grew up during, and I remember it happening and trying to understand it when it happened. And as I grew older, I came to find out that someone close to me actually had a pretty close encounter with the Jonestown Massacre, and that unbeknownst to me, it actually had a pretty profound impact on my life. But essentially the first verse is all about Jonestown, the second verse is all about Heaven's Gate, and just the way that folks were, it's not to be dismissive or looking down at anyone who was a victim of that, but more trying to understand where they were, understand their position, what might draw somebody in, and how we can learn to not fall into that position going forward. Learning to make sure that we test our ideas and our beliefs rather than falling head over heels into them to where we can't escape them once it's too late.
I absolutely agree, and you know, I have to say that's probably maybe a little bit of, maybe it sounds twisted, but I understood the lyrics. I understood what you guys were trying to do, and you know, with the twist of the cartoon and, you know, the happiness of the cartoon and the lyrics, and I know about Jonestown, and I know about Heaven's Gate, so I know, you know, I know about those things that happened as well. So I think that was the a twist that did me in to make me like it, because that may sound a little gruesome, but you know, it was a little bit of irony. Let's just say that.
Right. Well, that's definitely been something as we've grown as a band, that we're starting to learn to not be afraid to do things that might push buttons and make people uncomfortable or stir something in folks. A lot of our music, especially early on, was even though it was conveying things like depression and wrestling with inner demons and personal stuff, it was very much just like me dealing with me and trying to do it in a way that doesn't upset anybody or step on any toes, and it ends up being too agreeable a lot of times. Now, I'm still very proud of everything going forward, of how things were in the past with some of our older songs, but I'm really happy with what we've done and what we've accomplished recently. Been able to be more comfortable with just going forward, not being afraid of what people might think, and really exploring topics as best we can, and that's really giving us a lot of flexibility going forward, and I'm really looking forward to what the future might bring with it.
Well, and you kind of hit on two things. I mean, if you look at, speaking of depression and things like that, you look at Bad Flower right now, and you look at how brutally honest the lyrics are on every single song that they have, and they've pushed a lot of buttons, and it's good. I mean, I absolutely adore them. I love them. I mean, the wounded person vibe is, you know, it hits in everybody. It's something that everybody has felt sad or at a low point, or, you know, and even more so deeper than that, not been able to get out of it. And I think people are drawn to that more now, and as they might not have been 10 years ago, like, oh, I can't believe they're talking about that, it's talking about suicide and killing himself and but it's not like that. It's not like that now.
Yeah, I think it's important for folks to have an opportunity to find people they connect with, and there were certainly lots of bands that growing up, like, I would really identify with the emotion they were conveying, but not necessarily what they might have to say. And that's the beauty of, like, so many different bands having maybe similar themes or similar emotions or context to their song, but they're from different perspectives. They're from different life, and so you identify with some more than others, and you're going to find one that really stirs you and might inspire you to do more things with your life, or maybe connect with people different, or keep things from holding you back from opportunities and relationships that you would have had otherwise. So I think the more the merrier as far as finding ways to connect with people and bring people together and get rid of that negativity.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head, and I've talked about this a little bit on my show before. It reminds me of how I felt. This will totally give away my age, but that's okay. In the 90s with Allison Chains with Lane Staley. Now, I was in love with Allison Chains, and admittedly, I was naive and didn't know Lane was talking about his heroin addiction because I didn't know anybody that did anything like that. But now,
Sure.
As I got older and I realized how blunt and blatant he was, I identified with the lyrics and the music, but didn't put it into perspective as he was. It was, me thinking these thoughts, but not about drugs or, anything like that. But now as I got older, I thought, how did I not see how blunt and blatant he was, But I liked the music because I applied it to how I was thinking in my head at the time, about other things. Yeah. So definitely.
Yeah, it's sad how things like that end in such a tragic way, but at the same time, I don't think that he or Kurt Cobain or anybody else who was dealing with something that, or Chester Bennington or anybody else who was dealing with something that no one really could see or no one really picked up on, that it was as great of a magnitude as it was until it was too late. But I don't think they were making it for people to look at them and for their own attention or anything. I think that for their sake and their legacy's sake, I think that it's been doing exactly what they had always hoped for it to do. It's just that maybe some of those scars that were there along the way and some of those inner demons just never got addressed the way that they needed to. But I definitely think that it's no one's fault that they identified so much and found their own spin and own understanding of these songs. It is unfortunate that it left the way that it did, but it's also in a lot of ways magical that it has connected and continues to connect with people in such a powerful way that it does.
Definitely. I mean, I am on YouTube all the time, and I see comments, new comments on Allison Chains videos that people just listening, and of course, definitely, it's timeless. So let's talk about the upside of music. Let's talk about when you guys perform live. How does that feel? You put, especially talking about heavier subjects. How does it feel to perform live? To see people rocking out to your music or singing your lyrics. How does that feel to put all your hard work into play and see it all unfold?
Well, it feels really good to, especially when you get into that momentum and you get a couple songs in and you really start vibing off the crowd. You get a couple people there who are really getting into it. You've got folks who are maybe still a little timid, but you can tell that they're vibing. And there's a lot of different ways that folks enjoy music. Some folks, they like to mosh. Some folks, they like to just kind of stand there with their arms folded, but they're enjoying it very much. They're just internalizing it. And I can kind of identify with a few different ways that folks do it, but the live show is great because the four of us have a way to connect with each other and put out energy together that maybe we don't exercise the same way that we would in rehearsal. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a much more raw, passionate thing. I really admire bands like Dillinger Escape Plan and others that find a way to do a effective musical performance while still just going extreme with their raw expression physically on stage. And seeing that really take shape there, it creates a unique experience that you can't get from such a polished thing that you might see in more mainstream commercial acts. And that's a personal thing for me. I don't know how the other guys are, but the shows have a vast array of emotions with them, and it definitely starts with a lot of anxiety, especially on my part. I really struggle with the initial, like, getting on stage and letting loose and everything. I get real bad nerves, but once it's go time and once you're on stage and the ball starts rolling, there's no stopping it. And once you've done it and you've really connected with folks after the show, and then you're meeting people and they're saying, I've never heard of you guys before, where's this been all my life, and things like, it makes everything worth it. So by the end of the show, it's a whirlwind during the show, but by the end of the show, when you start meeting fans afterwards and connecting with new people, it's really a magical experience. And getting to connect with fans and people from different walks of life in ways that you wouldn't have. It's easy when you're listening to something on Spotify or watching a YouTube video or whatever to be like, oh, this is okay or anything, but when it's really there in front of your face in a visceral way, and people latching onto it in its rawest form, it's really special when that happens.
Yeah, and I say that too because, you know, in a world of YouTube and all the videos and the videos on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, there's nothing like watching a band live in person comparable. It doesn't compare. You may watch them live on YouTube or whatever, and it is not the same thing. It's a totally different vibe and energy, and I talk about that all the time.
Yeah, it really is a different thing. Like, as I mentioned, like, a lot of us are big Tool fans, and some of how they've been very protective over their shows and their art, and wanting it to be enjoyed and perceived in ways that they intend and not in ways that they don't, like trying to keep people from recording it so that they share a really low fidelity version online where people are like, yeah, it sounded all right, I don't really need to go to a show now, or just kind of compromising the art in a way. And it's not knocking on that anyway. There's lots of reasons people do that, and some of it's just them trying to share their own experience with it. So it's not to take away from that, but it's just the understanding of its own experience that's different from the album. And it's really a good thing when you get to connect with folks in a different way and in a very personal, direct way, instead of just through a keyboard or through a screen or anything like that. Really getting to meet folks and understand and really convey to them what it means to you that you've shared a moment in their life, and learning about them and what's special to them, and it's really cool to connect with folks like that.
So what do you guys have planned for the rest of 2019? Do we have more shows lined up? Do we have more videos, new music, anything that's going on for the rest of the year that you can tell us about?
Yeah, we've got a couple shows lined up right now, two of which are in Nashville. We'll be playing with a few bands that we've shared the stage with before, a couple guys that we really respect. There's a show October 19th, at Loud House Coffee and something or other. I can't remember the full name of the lounge. But that's going to be kind of a cool show with some heavier acts. A band called 5 Stories from down near, I believe, Jackson, Tennessee. And we played with them a handful of times, and they're good dudes. And a band called, I believe, Bear Walker. and they're pretty cool. Then one that I'm really looking forward to is in December on Friday the 13th. We'll be playing at the oh man, how's this basing on me? The Crying Wolf in Nashville, and it's a real cool, like, raw, intimate venue to where it's just like you and the band right there. Like you're practically on stage with them, and it's a really great vibe in there. And we'll be playing with some
unplugged, like an MTV.
Well, I mean, except very much plugged in. Like it's an aggressive, raw. Like a lot of metal bands play there and stuff, and we played there, and it was a really cool thing. Even though, like, it's nice to have the big full PA system with the fancy lights, and we've had shows like that where we've connected with a lot of people, and those are awesome. We love those shows, but there's something special and unique to the ones that are raw and kind of torn down a little bit to where you connect with people on a more roots level. And so I'm really looking forward to that show. We're playing with a band called Them Fixes, and a really cool band that we kind of buddied up with called Two Dead Men, and they're a real cool, real raw. Both of those bands are two pieces, by the way, but they've got this massive sound. Really looking forward to playing with them.
Now, where can go ahead.
Sorry. Also, I just figured I'd mention that. So we've just released this EP. This EP is part 2 of a 3-part EP album that we were kind of working on. We originally recorded 15 songs a little over a year and a half ago, actually. And so we put out part 1 last year. This is part 2. And even though we're promoting this and really going for this EP, we're really proud of it. I'm currently mixing part 3 right now, and we're hoping to have that ready sometime in the near future. I don't know if it'll be the end of this year or very beginning of next year, but hard at work on that for sure.
Now, where can people find your music? Where can they find? Do you have merch? Do you guys have a website? Are you all over social media? Whatever you can to plug the band and plug your stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah. The short answer to that is yes.
Okay.
We got it. We are pretty much everywhere that you are. If you listen to Spotify, if you listen to iTunes, if you listen to Amazon Music, whatever it is that is your flavor, we're on pretty much all major streaming platforms, all major download platforms. Digital copies are available anywhere online for however you like to enjoy music there. We do sell physical copies through our merch store, which is, you can get there either through our Facebook page, which we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, but you can also get there through our website, sleepfortheweary.com. And so our merch store has CDs, it's got cassette tapes on there. We made a cassette for our last EP, Catharsis. We made a cassette for that, and it's got a download code on the inside, and it's also got a special acoustic version of a song called Leviathan that we had on our Nocturnes album. And that cassette's pretty much the only place that you can get that song. Aside from one other place, and I'll mention that here in a second. But we got a cassette for that. We're working on physical copies for our current EP, Theoria, but right now Theoria is available online through all digital outlets. Also on the merch store, we've got shirts, we've got glow-in-the-dark stickers, we've got a brand new 3D poster that we just did that's kind of on the Jonestown theme. But if you purchase the poster, it comes with a set of the red and cyan 3D glasses. So you pop them on, and the poster kind of comes to life. But yeah, we try to find ways to make the merch fun and special. We also try to find ways to make lifelong fans and connect with people beyond what you might get with a lot of other things, and find fun ways to be a fan. For, like, if I was in your shoes and I was following this band, what would I think would be awesome, or
Right.
what would really get my attention. And so we've done things like we've hidden little coins that I've made that have the band logo on them, and we'll put them at certain places, and we'll make a treasure map on our Instagram. If you follow the treasure map and you find the coin, then you get into all of our shows for free forever.
That's super cool.
We've also got something similar to that on our merch store online called the Golden Flash Drive. The Golden Flash Drive has every song we've ever done on it, including stuff that was like pre-album things, early stuff, each EP that we've done, each single that we've done, including that acoustic version that I mentioned earlier of Leviathan, including the Stuck in the Middle with You cover that we did. And all that's available on there, but it also comes with a code to go onto our website, and you'll be able to get all of our future releases as they come out. And it's all included with the purchase of that flash drive. So when we release new music, if you bought that flash drive, you don't have to buy the next album. You just go on our website and download it.
That is a super cool idea. Very creative thing.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well, anytime you have new music coming out or a new video release, you guys can message me. I appreciate you coming on the show today, and come back anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. It really, really means a lot to us to have another outlet to be able to connect with folks, especially one as cool as yours. So thank you so much. It really, really